Good morning. Hey, how you doing, guys, gals, and sorry, my nose is a little runny this morning. Non-binary pals. There's Chance. Come here. Look. Camera. No. What are you crying for? Come here. Look. Just fucking look at the camera. Whatever. He doesn't want to be just sedentary. Oh, look how he sits. He always sits on my foot like that. You see that? Am I showing that well? He always sits on my feet for some reason. But yeah, today in my video series, and a note, Facebook is being a bitch about me uploading these videos. I don't know, it just won't do it. So I'm just going to upload them to YouTube and post it to Facebook, and you can watch it there. And a disclaimer, right? Like, these are my opinions, and these are my non-biased understandings of these issues. And I may be wrong, I may be right, you may not agree, you may agree. That's not the point. The point is that you understand where I'm coming from, so you don't fill up my inbox with a bunch of nasty messages. You know, like no, my breath does not smell like cock. I did not marry my sister. I do take showers every day. I am not living in my parents' basement, so I don't know. It's just, so I just decided to I'm gonna put it all out there. You know what? Everyone else has a fucking YouTube channel and podcast and stuff. So they make money off of it. None of you fuckers ever send me money for my shit, but whatever. Oh, look at him. He's rolling around in the grass. Yay! Yay! If you just rolled in shit, I'm gonna be so pissed, dude. Just got a bath the other day, and like, god damn it, he likes to roll in shit. Anyway, well, I guess that's kind of prudent to what we're talking about here is religion. So, when it comes to religion, I can only speak about what I know. Excuse me. What are you dragging me down the sidewalk for? Anyway, I can only speak about what I know about. I was raised Catholic, and so that's going to be the majority of my spiel here. I mean, I was raised Catholic. I was baptized Catholic. I went through Catholic confirmation. I even went on this pilgrimage thing and saw Pope John Paul II. And so I have a little bit of knowledge when it comes to religion. It did fall out of favor for me. Religion did in high school and into college, but that's because of a myriad of other things. One of the major one being the whole child abuse thing, which we'll get into, but yeah. So religion is, I guess, religion is a really personal, spiritual journey people have. You know, some people are born again Christians. Some people decide to change religions. Some people become religious when they're older. Some people never become religious. It's just part of the package, you know. But to get down to the brass tacks here, I am grateful we live in a country that not only protects your right and freedom to exercise religion, but also shields the government from religion and vice versa. The separation of church and state clause, which was very clear, but it's a two-way street. Government shouldn't have anything to do with religion, and religion shouldn't have anything to do with government. And that's why a lot of most religious institutions, including the quote church quote of Scientology, are religions. But that's maybe we'll get into that one. But if you go back in history, if you go back in time and you look at the times before Jesus was here, a lot of cathedrals that they built, the Gothic cathedrals and such, and the basilicas and all these things, they were usually the biggest thing in town. Those were the big buildings, and they were used for a multitude of things because they're the only ones who owned enough land, owned enough resources to have these large buildings, to have these large infrastructures, to have fresh water, to have food supplies, to have things that weren't necessarily there in that it's a European-centric notion of those things and not so much the Native Americans. Now, yes, the Native Americans were tortured by the Spaniards when they brought the missions in. But they were also brought, clean water and some other infrastructures. But not to belittle that, the Native Americans were brutally tortured for decades, if not longer, by the Catholic Church, under the guise of we are saving these people from their sins. And it goes all the way back to Christopher Columbus and further. Like Galileo was imprisoned at house arrest for the rest of his life by a Catholic Pope because of what he saw through a telescope, and it didn't agree with their ideology. And and decades, centuries later, the church had then apologized. Oh, we were wrong and blah, blah, blah. But you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't. So here we are. Fast forward to today. You have, not today in the sense of today, but recent history, you have an issue. You have the Catholic Church that is, basically controlling the world at that time. And in England, they are, the monarchs, and not just England, and in many countries, the monarchs are oh my God, you got me on. I know, sorry. The monarchs they got a broken sprinkler. Were ordained by God. I mean, they said, I can be king because God said I'm king. He literally, who died and made you king? And so, I know, well, they don't want to say hello. What do you want? He's distracted because there's a lady down the street with her dog, and she doesn't want to say hello. I've tried talking to her before, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm Karen," and so whatever. But yeah, religion ordained by God, which we all know is a bunch of pakakta. And, some people decided, like, hey, I don't like this. Especially in England, where in England, the king of England at the time, I think it was Gregory the something, or George the 18th or something, I don't know. Anyway, the king of England at the time wanted a divorce. And he said, well, my wife isn't giving me a male child, which is that's not how women work. The male is the one that dictates what sex the child will be. And, because that's where the genes come from, right? And so he decided to make his own church, the Church of England, which is just kind of a sect of Catholicism, basically. And there's, you have Orthodox Catholics and the Roman Catholics, which is what I am, and then you have other religions, Christian religions, Jewish, Muslim, and stuff. But I'm not even going to get into the Muslim thing. It's beyond my pay grade. But yeah, so at that time, America was being settled by the English. They had the colonies. And the Quakers came to the colonies because they wanted to be free from the oligarchic rule, like an oligarch, right? Oligarchic rule of the king in the name of religion. And they wanted to have the freedom to live in a governed society, but be able to practice whatever religion they wanted to preach. I know, excuse me, my nose is it's always a problem. So, hey. Hi. I know. Oh, you're crying? I know. He's always crying. So, yeah. Now, religion, England, yeah, the Quakers. So they came here, and they did that. They set up their own government. One of the earliest ones was the Constitutional Congress, and they set up a government, and they set up a lifestyle where they could practice that. And years later, once the founding fathers started to gather and say, hey, we need to do this better. I believe it was Thomas Jefferson was the major pusher for the separation of church and state. Mind you, from what I understand, Thomas Jefferson was a very learned man. He would read a lot. He had a lot of scholarly ideas, but he was very religious at the same time. He also supposedly, had sex with or raped one of his slaves and had a child with him, but it's a little different. But yeah, so the founding fathers had the foresight to put in the Constitution a clear red line between separation of church and state. And you can do the vice versa, separation of state and church. Whereas the state, the government, and bodies of governance in the auspice of the government should not, will not, and cannot make decisions based on religious doctrine. And, God damn it, and religion cannot be affected by the government. The government can't say, oh, we're going to choose this religion over that religion. No, they can't do that. They can't say, well, you can't practice this religion or that religion. That's wrong too. But at the same time, the religious bodies don't have the authority to dictate to the people what they want you to do. Oh, well, God says this, the Bible says that. Fuck off, you're not, you know, yeah. And one major decision is body autonomy and a woman's right to choose abortion. And, God damn it. And I don't want people to have abortions. I don't prefer them to have abortions, but they should be able to have that choice. They should be able to talk to the doctor, talk to the religious priest or whatever, friends and family, what have you, and make a decision that is medically prudent to their condition. Case in point, me. My mother, in 1983, 84-ish, became pregnant. Well, she got pregnant in like late 83, and I was born 84. But, so the doctors at the time said, you know, you're type 1 diabetic, and we don't think you should, we feel that you can't carry this child to term. It could kill you. It could kill the baby. It could kill both. Or you can survive and the baby wouldn't have, but we can't guarantee that this would be a successful birth. And so she thought about it. She talked to her priest and she prayed on it. My mother. And she then, had an follow-up thing, and the doctor's like, yeah, the baby's come along fine, everything looks fine, but we don't think, how you're doing. My mother was just having a lot of issues, high blood pressure, and other things that needed medication. And we said, we don't think you should have this child at this time. And so she did the same thing where she prayed on it and talked to her priest and family and friends and stuff. But she then, it came down to the third appointment where they're like, this is the point where you do or die. And she said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. This is what God wanted, and I'm gonna do it. And so she did. And I was born. Though the doctors were right, I was born, healthy-ish, but I was born at 1 pound, 13 ounces, 3 months early, and had to be in the NICU for a good many months. And I am grateful that my mother made that decision, but I'm also grateful that she had the option to choose, and I wouldn't hold it against her if she chose otherwise. I mean, I couldn't because I wasn't alive. I wouldn't be alive, but, she had that option. And they said the same things when my mother became pregnant again in 1995 with my sister. She was born in 96, but, because it's 9 months. And, she decided, no, I'm going to do this. And medication was better. Medical science had improved. And because of that, she was born a couple weeks early at 8 pounds. So, yeah. That's why I think it's important to keep religion out of government. Because women should have the right to choose what is the best choice for their child. Right? I mean, no one wants to see a child die. No one wants to see a child suffer. You know, my mother said, you know, if you were gonna be born like with some major life-altering issue, I probably wouldn't have given birth to you, because you don't deserve that. And I agreed. I said, yeah. I agreed. And now, not to say people that choose the religious viewpoint on abortion is wrong, but that's your choice. And you're welcome to practice it. You're welcome to exercise it. But your religion should not inhibit me from practicing my personal choices or opinions, regardless of if you agree with it or not. And that is the crux. That is one of the major points of the separation of church and state, is that these decisions should not be made, medically or otherwise, should not be made based on something the Bible says. It should be based on something the doctor says, something you want, something that is inherently your choice. You know, and we've moved away from that. We've let religion too much in the government. For instance, with Trump having these tongue talkers in the White House parking lot, holding their hands up like this. Oh, kind of almost like a Nazi thing. But oh, and they're just like saying shit, and it's like, dude, you're not tongue talking. You're just fucking making bullshit up so you can, so you can get some money from other religious bigots who, oh yeah, I agree with that. You know, they're gonna save the children. You know what saves children? Putting pedophiles in prison. That's what saves children. I'm reminded of that passage in the Bible. The story in the Bible. I don't remember the exact pages it was on, but it was when Jesus had came to the temple, the Jewish temple, and he saw that there was all this commerce going on. He saw that there was all this selling of goods and services, exchanging of money, all kinds of things, you know, like it was a mall. And he was upset about it. He said, no, this is my Father's house. This is a house of worship. This is a house. But like I said, at that time, the only people that owned large swaths of land and had infrastructure like large paved patios and porticos and large buildings that could hold people were churches. And since they were so entwined with government, it would make sense that you would have these things there. But no, Jesus H. Christ, my Lord and Savior, had said, no, this is not acceptable. This is not what my Father wants. You are children of God, and you should give God the respect he deserves by not disrespecting his house. It's your house. It's his house. It's our house. The house of the Lord. Or whomever you choose to believe. You know, if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're Sikh, you know, Tibetan. To me, it's all the same thing. Right? It's all religion that you personally choose and you personally exercise it, and you keep it separate from government. Because when religion starts getting into government, you have so much fuckery that goes on, so much hatred, so much of a desire to say, well, my understanding of the Bible is this, so you shouldn't be allowed to do this or that. I said, yeah, but that's your understanding of it. That's not my understanding of it. Why should it affect me if that's what you understand? Because that's what liberty is. That's what freedom is. Freedom is being able to make your own choice without it being affected by someone else's personal opinion. You're just going to put up with my nose, And I can't emphasize that point enough, that your personal, private choice of exercising a religion should be protected. It should be held up on a pedestal, but it should not be part of government, because not everyone in that government believes your religion. No, we are not a Christian nation. But no, we are not anti-Christian at the same time. We're not Muslim. We're not Jewish. We're not Sikh. We don't follow the Dalai Lama. We are a country it's a melting pot. And God doesn't make decisions that, God doesn't put a president in office. That's what was some of the many issues in the 60s when Kennedy was elected, because he was the first Catholic president. And people thought, oh, well, he's just going to take orders from the Pope and yada, 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 yada. And it turned out not to be the case. He was ultimately assassinated, but I don't feel that they were connected. I don't think he was assassinated because he was Catholic. I think he was assassinated because people just didn't like what he was doing. And they weren't getting the good governance that they deserve. And in our country, we had the foresight, they had the foresight when they started this thing 250 years ago, to have a clear line, boundary between church and state. And to solidify that boundary, they added in the tax-exempt status. Once the Internal Revenue Service was a thing, decades later, they said, fine, if you're a non-profit religious organization doing good for the people, you shouldn't have to pay the burden of taxes, income taxes, or any other taxes, because you're providing a common good for the people. You provide public open space, you provide shelter and freedom for those who need it, you provide counseling and care for those who seek it, you provide solace and wisdom from the Bible from those who also seek that. So, you, being a religious entity, because of the good, quote-unquote, good things that you're doing to the country, you are allowed a non-taxable status, which many institutions and what's the word I'm looking for? Entities, organizations are non-profit. They're non-profit for a reason. They're non-profit because the government has a viewpoint which which is stems from the separation of church and state, but the viewpoint is that you, an American citizen, has the freedom to exercise and exercise that right. You have a right to believe or not, and this is important, not to believe in religion. And just because you're not religious doesn't make you any less what? Hi. Hello. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? Huh? Oh, kisses? Oh, kisses. Yeah, I know. Chance is my buddy. He's my buddy. So yeah, religion. We have since lost that guiding principle, that North Star, that moral and social clarity that we used to have, that, okay, religion is separate from government. Religion and government is separate from religion. Separate. All right? And because you're separate, and because you're a entity that is doing good, quote unquote good for the people, you should be but if religions are going to start in promoting a certain viewpoint, promoting a certain ideology, promoting a certain governing viewpoint, you should lose your nonprofit status. You should not be allowed to benefit from a non-taxable status because of your meddling in government affairs. You have no right, as far as the Constitution says, you have no right to impose or force your religion upon anyone who does not want to be a part of it. That's it. If someone doesn't want to be religious, no. And so just because you're a Christian and you get elected to government doesn't mean you can promote your religion over others as a government official. You are free to practice it. You are free to all of those things. There's nothing inhibiting you from your freedom to practice religion. But you are not allowed to bring those things into government. I mean, yes, I know. People will make decisions based on the Bible and what have you, which is fine. You can't do anything about that. You can't do anything to change that. And that's just how people are. People's opinions are molded by many different things. Family, friends, work, school, social environments. You have, religion is a big one, is a major one. And just because you think your religion is the best doesn't mean it is the best. It doesn't mean it is the worst either. It just means that you should have the wherewithal and the foresight to understand that there are others living in the country. Well, for now until they get deported. But there are others in the country who maybe don't agree with your religion, who maybe don't practice the principles that you practice, but are still deserve a freedom of choice. They still deserve a government that governs for them without fear or favor. Right? Right? Like, is that hard to grasp? Do you not agree with that? Because let me tell you, I haven't met a mega person that's like, oh, well, I support Trump and Trump supports religion. And it's like, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Trump and religion are antithetical to each other. Now, when it comes to mega churches, Trump and mega churches, they're the same thing. The mega churches are not like the old school church. They're money making endeavors. They are the exact thing that Jesus Christ spoke out against. I want to repeat that one. Mega churches are everything Jesus Christ spoke against. The pageantry, the wealth, the disgusting wealth, the jets, the mansions, the acreages of land that they own that they don't open up to people. They're like when we had COVID, some churches were like, no, I'm not going to follow these COVID restrictions because I want my parishioners to be sick. No, don't wear a mask. You can't wear a mask if you come to church. Excuse me? Everyone's sitting right next to each other. If someone had COVID in there and they wore a mask, that mask would protect hundreds of people in that congregation. Now, it's not perfect. It's not going to stop it completely, but it will diminish it greatly. And I don't understand why those who are religious are so opposed to modern medicine. Because the church, the original Catholic Church, the Catholic Church was a proponent of major medical advances. Used to be, anyway. But not anymore. Because of a guy named Trump, who decided to go back. He wants to go backwards. Back. He wants to go back. 60s, gone. 70s, gone. 80s, gone. 90s, gone. 50s, that's where we're at. We're at 1950 again. Where women wear floral dresses and high heels while they clean the kitchen and bake dinner, and all they do is smile and do exactly what the husband says. That's called slavery. And that's what you're pushing. These trad wives, it's not religion, it's not biblical, it's slavery. You just want to have some bitch at the house who's going to do all your shit for you while you go at work, which, mind you, who doesn't? I mean, who doesn't want to have someone at the house that when you get up in the morning, breakfast is made, your lunch is made for work, and you go to work, and you come home, the house is clean, laundry's done, bed is made, dinner's ready. Of course, Who doesn't want these things? But these aren't things that that should be imposed upon someone because of a certain ideology. These are things that should be cherished and protected. Cherished and protected. You know, having, my father is very lucky that he found a woman that he gets along with well. That he happily married, and that he that they benefit each other. They benefit each other. And that's called the sanctity of marriage. Excuse me. That's called the sanctity of marriage. You know that old song by Old Blue Eyes, what's his name? Frank Sinatra, Love and marriage, it goes together like a horse and carriage. This I tell you, brother, you can't have one without the other. You know that song? Ask your local gentry, and they will say it's elementary. Your local gentry is your governing body. That's what that meant. So, bodies of governance should be inherently separated from bodies of religion. If you support Trump and you support religion, that doesn't make sense to me, because that seems antithetical to what the Bible says. There's many things that Trump is about that in the Bible do not line up. And if you say, oh, well, I'm religious and I go to my church group and this, that, and the other thing. Well, do you? Do you really? Are you really reading the Bible? Because I don't think so. I had a conversation with someone who I went to high school with. I had no issues with once graduation came around, but now he's just a dick, and he posts all these religious things with that one fucking actor about, oh, pray to God, blah blah blah. Yeah, fine, pray to God, exercise your freedom of religion. Fine, I welcome it, I want it. We need it in this country. But you obviously aren't reading the Bible if you support Donald J. Trump and the rest of the fuckery. Because there are a multitude of Bible verses and Jesus' teachings that don't line up. And I am confused as to why you get out of their yard. Get out. No. I don't know what you're fucking crying at, dude. No. What? I know he saw something. See, Chance. There he is. So happy. Hi, Chance. I don't know what he saw over there, but he knows he's not supposed to go on. Anyway, Trump is antithetical to the Bible. It's plain and simple. we all know he's not a religious man. He's never been religious until all of a sudden he wanted to be in politics. And all of a sudden, now I'm a Republican and now I'm religious. When he used to be a Democrat. But that's neither here nor there. That is not the point. The point is that in this country, you have the freedom to exercise your religion, but you do not have the freedom to impose that religion upon me, upon others, or upon government. Government should be impartial when it makes decisions. It should not make a decision based on a religious ideology. It should not make a decision based on a religious doctrine. And it's vice versa. Vice versa. Government should not make decisions, or religion should not make decisions based on government ideology, and religion should not make decisions based on government doctrine. And, laws should not be passed that inhibit one's freedom of exercising or not exercising that freedom. And that's what liberty is. That's what freedom is. That's what anti-fascism is. Because you know who was really railed against religion? Nazis. Hitler. He hated, not only were Jews persecuted, but, Catholics were persecuted. Gays were persecuted. Women, in some cases, were. It's this male-centric ideology that I don't understand. Because, I'm a man, and I can tell you from experience, I'm not that smart. I don't understand why they think men should control the world. And that's this whole religion thing. It all goes back to religion. Because in the Bible, it says he. It says man. Because that was the viewpoint of the time, was man was the main thing. And this whole thing about God being a male, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't think God would be either or. If anything, God would probably be a trans, right? It could be whatever he wants. He's God. It can be a man, it can be a woman, it can be whatever. That is what omnipotent and omnipresent means. You are everything, you are everywhere at once, and you are also not everything and not everywhere at the same time. So, he sniffed something. I think I've made my point on this video, which in other videos, and like I did in the earlier videos, I'm sure I will touch on it again. But I guess to boil it all down is, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. America is a great country because of our Constitution, and specifically because of the separation of church and state, and the separation of state and church. Those two entities are important bodies that make a lot of decisions governing how we live, but at the same time, they shouldn't be intertwined. They shouldn't affect each other's decisions, right? Right? I'm really perfectly blocking the sun here on this, huh? Oh, there, right? There it is. Well, the sun doesn't look very bright there, huh? Anyway, so I welcome your freedom to practice religion. I implore you to do so. Practice that freedom. Use it. If you want to be religious, go be religious. Go study whatever religion you want to do. But leave it the hell out of my country. Okay? Leave religion out of government, and leave government out of religion. Got it? Well, God bless you. I love you. And I hope that you will have the best things that you deserve, because you're good enough, you're strong enough, and gosh darn it, people like you. Here, we'll do another video of Chance here. Chance. Hi, Chance. Hey. Hi. Fuck Trump. Fuck fascism. Fuck racism. God bless America. I love you.